All right, I'm just kind of waiting for everybody to start filtering in. I'm kind of watching the participant count down there. It's looking like we're getting a really nice group joining us this afternoon. It's definitely here in the Phoenix area, it's definitely nice and overcast. I think we've definitely been missing that a little bit. And hopefully we'll get some rain tomorrow and Monday. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's virtual art talk behind the textile. Today's program will feature a discussion with the celebrated Navajo weavers Lynda Teller Pete and Barbara Teller Ornelas, featured in the exhibition All at Once, The Gift of Navajo Weaving, which is on view now. I'm Allison Lester, the Associate Director of Visitor and Member Engagement, and I'm coming to you live from the Heard Museum, where we sit on the traditional homelands of the Akmal Atum and the Halshadam Peeposh people. Today, they are our neighbors, friends, and partners. I have a few housekeeping items before we jump into the program. Today's event is a webinar, which means you'll only see and hear from me and our panelists. The chat box is open. You are welcome to let us know what you're thinking. You can talk to each other. You can start dropping questions in there. Just make sure you select everyone if you would like your comments to be seen by more than just me and the panelists. At the very end of the discussion, I'll come back on to open the Q&A, and at that time, please submit your questions. If you have any technical difficulties, you can call our helpline. I'm going to drop this number in the first comment in the chat. They will also have a very brief survey for you at the conclusion of the event. They have been incredibly helpful and valuable for us as we've been able to make some changes from the comments that you've sent us. So let me just go ahead and drop this helpline in the chat box real quick, and then we'll continue. All right, there you go. All right. So thank you again for tuning in. We do have a few more events coming up, both virtual and in person. February will kick off Member Appreciation Month, where we'll have a lot of fun treats and events, virtual and in person, and even a shop sale just for you. We'll give you all those details in an upcoming email and our next issue of Earth Song, which you'll get in the next few weeks. We're also looking forward to the opening of Leon Polk Smith, Hiding in Plain Sight, where we'll have a virtual art talk with the exhibition co-curators Joe Baker and Diana Pardue. That will be Thursday evening, February 4th at 4 p.m. And of course, we hope you'll come see it in person. We will have our members only preview hours on Friday, February 5th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we continue to uphold our extensive set of safety protocols in place, including the required masks for both staff and visitors, many hand sanitizing stations throughout the museum, directional arrows, and reduced hourly attendance. Now, those who've attended a previous webinar know what I'm about to do. I always like a little bit of interaction with our viewers, even though I can't see you. What I'm going to do is pop up a couple questions for you. It's going to be a poll. You'll get it on your screen. All you need to do is click on your answers. So if we go ahead and set that poll up. There it is. So who has attended a past Weavers Marketplace or Second Saturday series featuring our weavers? Lynda and Barbara have definitely both been at those with a bunch of the other weavers. And I know that is one of the places that Julie Dalrymple, our wonderful member and donor for the exhibition, have also had a great time to meet the artists. So go ahead and answer that. All right, and then the second question, last question, we'll move on pretty quickly. So go ahead and pop that one up. Who here is experienced in textile arts, like weaving, cross stitch, crochet, sewing? Just kind of want to get a handle on, how many people really and have this experience. So just go ahead and hit that right there. And all right, waiting for the answers to come in. All right. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Oh, that's so great. It's good to see a lot of you have experience. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Velma Key Craig. She is our assistant curator and all at once co-curator, and she'll be able to introduce you to Barbara and Lynda. And then at the very end, we'll open up to you to submit your questions. So with that, I'll see everyone again for the Q&A, and I'd like to invite Velma and Barbara and Lynda to come back on.
Hello, everybody. My name is Velma Key Craig. I'm assistant curator for the Heard Museum and co-curator for All at Once, the Gift of Navajo Weaving, along with the Andrew W. Mellon Fellows. There are 3 of them, and Ann Marshall, Dr. Ann Marshall. I'm here To introduce, very happy to introduce Barbara and Lynda, Barbara Teller Ornelas and Lynda Teller Pete. They're both fifth generation Navajo tapestry weavers from the Two Gray Hills area. Barbara has won 4 Best of Show awards, many other numerous awards. She has her textiles and museum collections all around the world. And Lynda is also a celebrated award-winning Navajo weaver as well. I'd like them to both come on and introduce themselves. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, it's Barbara Teller Ornelas since kapahin sa to hetlini basishin hanangani dashinal ashini dashiche beat out sananishla. Hi, I'm Barbara Teller Ornelas. I'm the Edgewater people, born for water that flows together, and my grandfather's clans are One Who Walks Around and Red Bottoms clan. And I'm from Two Gray Hills, New Mexico, Newcomb area. My father was a trader at Two Gray Hill Trading Post for over 35 years, and I grew up at the store and learned the art of weaving from my family, my mom and my sisters and my grandmother.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. Lynda?
Uh-oh.
Hello. Yate. I'm Lynda Teller Pete. Let's see. I'm the same clan as my sister, so we really are sisters. I'm Tapahe and Tohedline E Tasha Bashishchin Hanalahni E Tashanala Ashche Dashiche. What else? My husband Belvin Pete and I live in Denver. We've lived here probably longer here than we ever have any other places, and that includes the Navajo Nation. And we're happy to be here today to give you guys a tour of where we work. And when we started on this journey, I didn't realize that my whole house is actually every nook and cranny is crammed with Navajo weaving stuff. And so I've particular areas that that I go to for working out my designs. And there's other things that I do that are related to weaving, such as writing. So the last couple of years, Barbara and I have written 2 books. The first book is Spider Woman's Children, and Navajo Weavers Today. And the second book is the How to Weave a Navajo Rug and Other Lessons from Spider Woman. And so, Barbara and I travel a lot, and a lot of what we wrote was on the road, but I'll show you areas where, all of these take place. But I'm glad to be here, and I hope everyone's having a great day, and I'll see you later.
So we're very fortunate that Barbara and Lynda have agreed to come on and, share with you all their journey. One of the things that we find that a lot of people are interested in is the workspace. What does an artist's workspace look like? Where do they work? What inspires them? And today that's what Barbara and Lynda are here to share with us is where do they work? We have a PowerPoint. You want to bring that up? So we just had Barbara and Lynda come send me photos so that we didn't have to, have them walk around their whole entire house and stuff. So that's what we're showing here. This is Barbara and Lynda. Very nice photo. Did Belvin take this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Belvin is like a jack of all trades. He's Lynda's partner. So here, somewhere in Tucson, Barbara, this is
my backyard. I live in Midtown Tucson, and that's my she shed. and it holds all my looms. And I think maybe I have over 75 looms, and you can tell the one on the right of the pictures. And you know, I have to have help now to go in there to get a certain size looms because they come crashing down on me, and I have to figure out a system where they're all, you know, um, nicely stacked, and but it's really really hard. And so I go from the really really large ones that I could take apart, and then I have, you know, smaller ones down to the real tiny ones. So my that whole shed is just filled with looms and some raw wool. Yes, okay. So see, these are some of the classroom looms that's in the shed, and then the boxes and stuff are all filled with classroom stuff and things that we use for our classes, and you know, raw wool and a bunch of looms. And then I have my spindles, you know, in my workroom. And sometimes I don't feel like weaving, and I'll just take a spindle and just start spinning some wool. And you know, I'll put a movie on or something and just spin all day and stuff. And you know, it, the spinning part, you know, the process of carding and spinning and weaving, as a child, my favorite part of the whole process was the spinning, you know, because you could take your spinning, your spindle anywhere, and you just sit there and just weave. And it wasn't as, you know, you don't get as dirty when you're doing like the carding part of the wool. And so that was always my favorite thing to do. And then I have these vases full of battens. You know, this is just one of them. I have another one in my other studio. I have two studios. I have the larger room, the family room. I turn into a studio, a big studio to do work on big projects. And then the small studio, the one I'm in, is the small one. And then so I have a whole collection of battens that are in the small studio, and then I have a whole more another collection in the big studio. So, and then the table that you see there is just, you know, things that I use as I'm weaving, my combs, needles, um, you know, my wool that I have. And then I have a really nice dish that I use to hold my wool in, and it was made by a friend of mine from Acoma, and he gave that to me. So that's what I use that for. And I have a shaver, you know, and a tape measure, and you know, a seam guide, and all the things that I use for my for my weaving. So yarn is the way you go. So I have yarns from everywhere that I can think of, you know, and we used to get raw wool from my Aunt Margaret's flock of sheep, and but since she's gotten way older and she sold all her sheep, and so now Lynn and I just go to like wool festivals or yarn shops and stuff and look for different kinds of wool. You know, when I first started out, I just used whatever wool that I had. I had no idea that there were names for different types of sheep, you know, and I didn't realize that there were, you know, wool that are real kinky, and there were wool that were real thick, and you know, some of them are real fine, you know, and it was fun. It's fun learning about the, you know, the texture of the wool and stuff, and a lot of the different colored ones that I have in my um, those boxes. Lynn dyed some of those, and then some of them, you know, she dyed from processed wool, and then some she dyed from the um, roving. And so again, I'm experimenting with both of them and see how it works and stuff, and you know, it's a lot of fun figuring out what wool to work with, and stuff. And so, and then, you know, in my small studio, I have all my CDs and my collection of Dwight Yoakam stuff. You know, and I'm a huge fan. I'll admit that. And I've seen him 187 times in concert. Yeah, so I'm a big fan. And I just, you know, and I enjoy sitting in my small room and listening to music and weaving. And then sometimes when I don't feel like weaving, you know, I do a lot of spinning and stuff. So the carding kind of I mean, I kind of eliminated the carding because a lot of the wool that I buy nowadays is all roving. And so it's already pre-carded, and it's just easier to go from roving to spinning it. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
So I added this slide because, you know, Barbara really is a Dwight Yoakam fan. Barbara and Lynda actually have become my very good friends for the past, I think, I don't remember when I learned to weave. I think it's been over 10 years now. I can't believe it's been that like time has flown that quickly. But I think what I was like surprised about, and this is just me being ignorant, is how cool you guys are. I was like, man, she has all this music and, you know, goes to all these concerts and still has time to weave.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
You know, when I was real small, my grandmother used to say, you have to have a different outlet to be more creative with your weaving. You know, she used to make all kinds of weavings. She knew like 18 different styles of twill weaving. She did two-face weaving, and she, you know, she dyed wool. And I remember one time she tried to boil flashlight batteries just to see what color would come off of it, you know, and it was like kind of yellowish, and she couldn't use it. But you know, she was always experimenting and stuff. But her thing was collecting clay and making pot, you know, little bowls and little cups and stuff. And that was her outlet. She goes, this is just fun things for me to do. And but it helps me with my weaving, you know. And I was always attracted to music ever since I was really small. I remember my dad and my grandfather listening to Hank Williams, you know, and then my grandfather would say, save the batteries, you know, for Hank Williams hour, which is on a Sunday, you know. And so I grew up listening to all kinds of music, and I met a lot of people who've really piqued my interest in different styles of music. You know, I probably, this is not even an all my collection of CDs. I have like boxes and boxes of CDs everywhere. And, you know, and I just, you know, I go to a lot of small venues to find real good musicians. I have a lot of musicians who are friends of mine, you know, and I really enjoy. It's just like I really enjoy what they create because it helps me create what I create. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And I think it's time. Well, go ahead and move to the next slide. Now we have Lynda here to share her space.
Okay. Am I on?
Oh, yes,
okay.
You are.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was pushing all kinds of buttons. Okay. Hi, everyone. So Barbara and I, we live in two separate places, but we connect a lot by text and FaceTime and all that kind of stuff. And it's been really hard on us, especially in 2020, after being together for 21 years, traveling to do classes. And one of the things that we do when we get together is we prepare for classes. We have a lot of looms and classroom looms. And my workspace started from the dining room because I have a bigger table down there. And so I do an assembly line of warping. There's like a warping station, there's a finishing station, and I know where exactly everything is. So I'm not tripping over things and looking for things. So I move everything that I have are on wheels, and they wheel into the dining room. And then I have all of my dowels and stuff. And then I have a work desk below. Where you see the work desk is all these pieces came from IKEA. I went around to a lot of furniture places with a measuring tape, and the only thing that I could find was from IKEA. And I love the table that I have because I was able to adjust the legs, and I can work with it standing up or sitting down. And this is where the magic happens. This is where my writing takes place. I do a lot of admin work from here. I do when we're invited to do projects. This is where I work, and it's a huge desk. I have a computer monitor that's right next to it that I can just wheel around. I have a large bookcase up against the wall with the window that I kind of sit staring out sometimes, looking at people walking their dogs and whatever. But it's a really great place. It's a little nook. We live in an old Victorian house, and the Victorian doesn't have a lot of closets. I guess back in those days, they only wore one outfits, who knows, but they didn't have a lot of closets. They didn't have a lot of storage places. Most of the places in the Victorians are showy rooms. And so I just started managing to put together boxes everywhere. And I didn't realize that we had even taken over an unused bathroom to store looms. But I either need a bigger house or I need a very large studio. And I don't have a shed like my sister does. And so I have to go looking under beds. I got to go looking for stuff for looms and other things I've stashed away. But this is one of my favorite places to be. I sit here and I drink coffee. I also have like little knickknacks. I have a lot of students that when we travel, they give us presents. And I have a little cubby hole that's solely for presents that I get from my students. Get a lot of cards in the mail. I put them on my bulletin board for a couple months, and then I put them away. But I get a lot of stuff. And during 2020, I think a lot of our weaving students stepped up because we had such turmoil in our family. And you know, the people that really stepped up from our student groups, you know, they've sent us pampering things. They buy dinners for us. In fact, today, you know, one of my really good friends from Amherst College, Tekla Harms, is buying us dinner tonight so that we don't have to, you know, it's such a busy day anyway. So we have a treat waiting for us at the end of the day. And it's such a really good community to be in. And we've met so many people throughout the years that have influenced us in our creative processes. This is also the place where if I'm having trouble with my design, I'll come down and doodle a little bit. But it's really, a lot of it just kind of takes place like in cars, at airport lounges. I sit with my little notebook. If I'm off somewhere in a class, I'll, you know, on a break, I'll kind of doodle a little bit. But basically, this is my working place. And the rest of the place, I've got things stashed everywhere. If you see the little inbox, that plastic drawer, I like things that I can see through, so I know exactly where things are at, and I don't have to keep opening up boxes that I don't know what's in there. And I like to label everything. You know, one year I got a labeler for Christmas, and that was the best thing I've ever had. And I can label things. And sometimes when I run out of things, I'll go looking for the empty box, and I know I have to replace them. But I have my drawers, and I have packing things so that when people order tools, I'll pack them up and then weigh the packages and then set them up on the porch. And it took a long time to get this organized. So it doesn't come naturally to someone like me who loves to live in clutter. And okay, the further left, that's a mess, and it has all of my tools. And you think that I don't take care of my tools, but I really do. I have like a little polishing thing that I use, lemon oil, to make sure that things are polished and things, I mean, my battens are polished and everything. And then I stick them back in here. But actually, it looks like a mess, but they're quite organized by size. They're organized by what size of rug I'm going to do. And I can reach over, I wheel around in my chair and I can reach over and pull out whatever I need. And if I don't have it, I will ask my husband, Belvin, and I'll tell him I need another batten that is about this long and it needs to be very flexible. And can you put a hole in it so I can stick, a piece of thread through it, just so I can use it as a shuttle. So he's been using a lot of, he's been making a lot of the tools that do double duty. And the middle photo, you see my kitchen table. I covered it with black fabric so that I can see where things that have dropped. And right now I've got like a warp and 2 colors of selvage cords that I've respun. And these are commercial, and this is what I use for my classroom. So I have orders for colored selvages. And my nephew Terry, he left us in April, and he made these PVC pipes because a lot of our students can't afford tools sometimes. So he was always looking for things to make that would be affordable for people. He also, when he was in class with us, people would have physical challenges, and he would make a tool for that. And he was left-handed, and so he made a lot of left-handed tools for people that were having a hard time using the right-handed stuff. Or he would make it so to where the left-handers had their own specialty tools, I should say, because the right-handed tools, they're sort of ambidextrous. You could use it any other way. But he always catered to the left-handed students, which was really nice. And the last part, the last photo, I've got, this is commercial wool. All of my own personal wool is down in the basement. And I did not want to take the camera down there because the basement is really, really crazy looking at this point. But I do keep all of my classroom stuff organized because Barbara and I, when we have classes, I have to pull things out very, very quickly. I have to pack everything. Sometimes we ship out boxes to the classes that we go to, and everything has to be in an orderly fashion in order for me to work quickly. But in my own weaving, it's totally different because I have to take my time. I got to figure out where, if I'm going to need a certain color. And somebody asked a question earlier when my sister was talking about what is roving. Roving is raw fleece that has been run through a professional mill, and they've been milled so it comes out looking like a large cotton batting that you use for quilting. But this is actually wool, and it comes out in huge spools. So Barbara takes those and she starts separating them, and then she spins it into long yarn and hope that we don't have breakage on it. And so that's what roving is. But a lot of my personal stuff I have stashed in the basement. Okay.
Awesome, thanks. So just in case it hasn't been made clear yet, or for those of you who are not familiar with Barbara and Lynda, they do many things. They're both amazing weavers, but they also teach classes everywhere. and weaving classes. So which is why Lynda has this assembly line of looms and warps and all of these dowels. And then they're also authors. So have written so far 2 books, and then also have been contributors to other projects. So yeah, it's just a real, you know, there's a lot going on here. And did you say that you put like a black cloth down on the ground so that if you drop something, you can find it easier?
I have it on my table, but
Oh.
I also have like a really nifty tool. If I drop needles, I have this really long telescoping magnet, and I just whip it out, and then I just roll it around on the floor, and it picks up all the needles and stuff that I've dropped.
Yeah. And then Lynda and you guys are also inventors, apparently.
And we're what?
Inventors.
Oh,
all
yes.
genius ideas, these little shortcuts. I love it. So we have on the screen now.
And you can buy that telescope magnet thingy at the auto stores.
Oh.
Yeah.
For picking up screws and nails or whatever. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have on the screen now 3 photographs of 3 of your 3 of your weavings, and these are all included in the All at Once exhibition. Did you want to share a little bit about them?
I started doing child's blankets probably like 20 years ago. I was always considered a 2 gray hill weaver. I mean, that's what everybody tells me, you're a 2 gray hill weaver. You can't do anything else different. But, being an artist in resident at the Herd Museum, I started exploring with other colors and stuff, because back then the Herd Museum had so many different weavings on display, and your whole life is 2 gray hills. You see your mom and your aunts and your grandma and everybody weaving 2 gray hill style, and then you go to the herd and you see all these different kinds of weaving, and you realize that there are a lot more different styles and a lot more different colors that you can work with, So I started buying the colors and then respinning it to make it finer and stuff. And then, but going through the collections and looking at the old pieces, somehow I got very attracted to them, and it felt like, that for me, 2 Gray Hills is home, but the old pieces helped me feel like I know who I am, and so I just started looking in books and looking at patterns and stuff, and I don't exactly copy exactly the same of how the weaving is. I take a little bit from this piece, I take a little bit from that one, I take a little bit more, and then kind of put it all together to create this little piece, and it's a lot of fun to do that, and your creative juices just flows when you have the freedom to create whatever you want to create, and stuff. And I still hold myself to higher standards when I'm working on my 2 gray, and because I know, people will look at it and say, she doesn't cut corners, she does a good job with this, and I try to apply that with the other styles that I do. But I think my favorite thing to do is these little child's blankets. This, I have this little one that I'm working on for a friend, and it's just fun. I just do little things, and most of it is freehand. Like I come up with something, and then I get to the middle, and then I just turn and and copy everything I've done down here, and it's just a lot of fun to do. And I was really I forget where I was when I think it was at Indian Market in Santa Fe when they came and bought this piece, and it was either there or the Herd, one of the 2 places. And I was really grateful that they that they took the time to come and purchase one of my pieces. Yeah.
Thank you. And we also have Migration of Dragonflies and Homage to the Navajo's Long Walk.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I was, I always like to tell stories about my, especially when I'm doing other styles other than Two Great Hills. I something will inspire me. A story will come up, and I will look at the history part first, and then I will start kind of figuring out in my head what it would look like woven. And one of the things that I started looking at was my love of dragonflies. I wanted to weave what I really like. And dragonflies are in the middle with those black little crosses with the double wings. Those are the dragonflies. And it's like they have a colorful place in my life. So I put a lot of color behind it. And some of the migration that they do, they can live like underneath a little sheet of ice. And so the blurred black and white is like them kind of flittering under the ice. And then they sort of migrate out. And so this is just my story of how, you know, things that I love travel. And I love the darker red. I was kind of concerned when this was dyed that that I would have some variant spaces, but I actually sat under a really cool blue light to make sure that the color was even. There are rugs that are tapestries that I do that I really like the variant of colors. But this one I really want it to be clear, and so I was very happy that came about. I also love this piece because it has the energy of both my sister and my nephew Michael, who helped me finish the piece before Indian Market. And it was such a hectic time for us when we got down there, and it finally came off the loom. And I remember I'm sorry, I forget how to say their last names.
The Dalrymples?
Yes, yes. They came and they loved it, and I really enjoyed the day. It was such a cool sale, and you know, and I recognized them from the time that they bought one of my storm rugs. That storm rug was a blue ribbon. I think it was a blue ribbon winner from Santa Fe Indie Market, and I recognized them when they walked up to the booth. And I never can say their last name, but I really appreciated them coming back year after year. And the last rug is one that I wove to commemorate the walk back from Bosco Redondo, and our ancestors that were there. You know, they kept weaving, and so they kept getting their supplies from the Indian agents that were bringing in rugs or yarn from Pennsylvania, I think. And the Navajos were trading the red color for the cavalry's red underwear or their red issued army blankets, and they were unraveling it and respinning it, and that's what we call Bayetta reds. And so I kind of wanted to emulate that by using the brighter red background and making sure that that was a clear red as well. And I am, you know, we're not a family of dyers, and so I've become very lax, and sometimes I get very very focused on things that I want to turn out right. But when I teach my students how to dye, I kind of just let them have fun and not really put like recipes together. I just want them to try it so that they'll explore more on their own. And so that's what I wanted to depict with this, is that the journey home, you know, Spider Woman was their big inspiration there. They're coming back to the beautiful turquoise mountains over the four corner or over to our four sacred mountains and getting home. and you know, and resume living and raising your children and getting back to life. And so for me, this was a really uplifting tapestry for me to weave, and for them to come and appreciate it, and that really made the full circle complete.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. These are beautiful pieces, and I just really like am struck by the different shades of red. They're all, you know, they're all so vibrant and super amazing. So on the screen, you know, the photographs, the middle one looks the smallest, but it's actually the biggest. Migration of dragonflies is actually bigger than the other two. You can see the dimensions down at the bottom for anybody who's wondering. And then of course you can also visit them in person at the exhibition. One thing that comes across in the photographs very well is just the clearness, the crispness of the design. They really are like that in real life too, because of the fineness of the spin of the yarn. Did you want to kind of explain a little bit about how you get such clarity in the design because of the weft count?
I think it all depends on the spinning. When you spin your wool and make it much, much finer, you know, like when I'm using my spindle here, you know, and I'm spinning here, and I try to make my spin as fine as possible, like that, you know, and you can get really nice crisp lines, you know, and I use a lot of seam guides, tape measures and stuff to make sure that they're all measured really well. It it all starts with when you set up the warp. You know, you have to make sure that your warp is counted the same all the way across. You know, like in our class when we teach warping, we always have them warp 4 warp strings to the inch, and that 4 lines has to be even all the way across each inch, right? So for my pieces, I do 8 lines per inch, and so I have to make sure that the 8 lines fit within each inch, and so and make it even all the way across. That helps the pattern. It helps the pattern be this same size, you know, because you want your pattern on the right and the pattern on the left to be the same size to make it that, you know, even and symmetric. And it's all has to do with math, you know, and everything has. I mean, you know, I'll sit here and figure out how to, like, you know, like child's blankets and stuff. I do most of those freehand. I don't draw anything out. I just, you know, I come up with a pattern. I know how many lines I have to work with and how many steps I can do within each line, and so it's easy for me. And then, you know, when I do one step, I make sure I do 16 lines, which is 32, right? 32 yarn across per step. And so you know, I know how many lines I do. So the next line is the same. And that's how I keep my patterns even and stuff. And so each block that you see in my design have the same amount of yarn in each turnarounds. So it's
Yeah.
just, again, it's all math, and it's, you know, and it starts with your yarn, because the finer your yarn is, the easier and crisper your patterns are going to be, you know.
They're really amazing, and the level of detail and exactness that you're describing is
Uh-huh.
also just, you know, it's tremendous. So I have a question. I wanted to know, you know, I'm getting I mean, you guys all, you know, work together. You're a weaving family, multiple generations in. You have children who weave, um, and and then your family is involved in all the different ways or parts of the process, even tool making. Um, um, but I think I like how do you guys keep one another inspired, or even just kind of you know, want to just kind of give people an insight into exactly who does what, or what you like to do within that group? How do you?
Well, you know, one thing that kind of drew us together the last couple of years is the books that were coming out. And once we started working on that, we have a really good friend that lives here in Denver, and his name is Mike Yellowman. He's also an Navajo. And I asked him to illustrate some of our stuff for us, and he agreed. And so we were sitting down trying to decide, okay, I need to figure out how much to pay him because he's going to do a lot of work. Plus, he works for the government, and he works for the Office of Surface Mining, and he travels a lot. And so I knew his time would be very, very limited, and I had to compensate him. And I thought, I'm not sure how much to pay him. And so he wasn't sure either. So we came up with a really good plan to where he wanted a Navajo two-gray hill weaving for his kilt. And Michael was engaged at the time, and his wonderful husband is from Scotland. And he said that they were going to get married in Scotland wearing kilts, and he wanted his kilt to be a two-gray hill rug. And I was so excited about it. And he brought me samples of fabric that they use. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can match this. And right away, I called my sister up and I said, hey, we got this new project together. So we talked about it and we said, okay, it has to be commercial wool. We got to get it from Harrisville up in New Hampshire. We teach classes up there. We went through their mill. We handled all the wool, and we said, this is exactly what we're going to use. So we brought back a bunch in a suitcase, and then Barbara took it and she started washing. She started putting them into skeins because they came on cones, and she washed them. She put rocks in them to stretch them out, and then we rolled them up, and she warped it, and everybody helped with the setup. And Barbara researched the designs. So she came up with the border design of the kilt had the Celtic symbols for love. And then right in the middle, exactly in the middle, she put in the designs that are Celtic for marriage. And then, of course, the traditional two-gray hill design inside. So it was a merging of both Navajo and Celtic. And we got it done. We got it. We sent it. We gave it to Mike and Stuart, and they took it to Scotland. Took it to the kilt maker. And what I was worried about was that the woven piece would be a little bit too heavy, and the word was it was too light. So they had to line it so that it would drape, but it's removable so it can be dry cleaned and then put back on. So, and everybody had a hand in it. The whole family did. And that was one thing that I think if we have like a special thing that we want to do, everybody wants to help. And I never have to ask. I never have to say, could you please do this for me? It's always, what can I do? Or I want to be a part of this. It's you don't have to say that, you just do it. And we were in LA. I have a travel loom, and so I rolled it up and I took it with me when I got to LAX. One thing that I do now is I put a copy of my certificate of Indian blood on my rolled up piece, and I put a note on for the TSA that says this is a Navajo weaving. And they were used to just taking it apart, and I would get it back and it just would be crazy looking. And so I finally took the time to do that. And now they don't do that anymore. They don't take it apart, and I can get things back in one place. And so I did that there, got to LA, reset the loom up with my travel loom. And Michael came and just was fascinated with it. And then he started weaving on it. And, so these are projects that really kind of pull us together. And I think there was a question earlier if we're related to Stella Teller. We're not. Stella is from one of the Pueblo tribes. She's a potter. And I believe we had our booth next to her at one evening market. And we did ask her where the teller name came from. And it came from a Navajo relative. I don't know if it was a father or grandfather. I don't know if she was married to a Navajo, but it was such a long time ago, but we're not related to Stella. But she's a great potter.
Yeah, she is.
That's great. We can start taking more questions from the audience now since we're down to 10 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Lynda and Barbara. It's been so wonderful just sitting here and listening. I want to go brew a cup of tea and just like sit down and like keep chatting with you both. So thank you. You've been so great to answer a few questions already. I'd say the first one that I'd like to ask is, could you talk a little bit more about the wool that you source? And, is there a big movement to make sure that it was grown and sourced in the US?
Sure. We were used to our Aunt Margaret having her flock of sheep, and we would get raw wool from there, and it was a family thing. We just went home and we would wash it and do all the necessary things. And when my mom was alive, I really would like for her to spin my inside fill color, because she spins just a little bit thicker than Barbara. Barbara spins so fine that I use her stuff for the design part. I'm not a very good spinner. I mean, I'll spin if I have to, but I'm not a very good spinner. But now that we've been apart for almost a whole year, I really had to spin some stuff. And now when we go to wool festivals, and we have our favorites, we'll go to a couple of different sheep producers on the New Mexico side, and they're not Navajo, but we do ask them certain questions about their product, and we'll get the top of what they consider. We had to learn all these terms because these terms were very foreign to us, but roving that are top, and then we pick the colors that we want, and then Barbara spins it. We're also working with Harrisville farm mill up in New Hampshire, and they're going to develop a yarn for us for our classroom use. Now they buy some of their wool from the Navajo Nation. They're partnering with Sheep is Life and the Churro outfit. I'm butchering that very badly, but they do buy raw wool from Navajo sheep producers. And so in our classes, we want to say that the products that we use, all the looms that we use are Navajo made. All of our tools are made by Navajo tool makers. And now our wool is from Navajo sheep. Part of it is from Navajo sheep. It's mixed with other sheep from Montana and from Australia and things. But again, it's also from the Navajo Nation. But for our use, we still haven't found a wool that is from the Navajo sheep producers.
Well, some of the wool, but especially my infill color that I get from Tuber Hill Trading Post. Irma Henderson raises her sheep at the trading post, and she shears them, and she has them made into roving. And so I get this really nice rich brown that I have, so like this. And this is all from Irma's sheep. And so I'm able to buy some of her wool. And I know that she buys a lot of Navajo wool from, people in the area. And then she has it set and processed. So if you're interested in buying roving Tugre Hill colors with Navajo produced wool, Tugre Hills is a really great, Trading Post is a really good place to buy that kind of wool.
Thank you. I see there's quite a few calls to see the kilt, and actually I think we can bring up a picture since you sent that, and here we go. Here it is, guys. Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Yeah, it was fun researching the Celtic designs, and trying to put my own Navajo spin on it, and and describing it to them, because I figured out what the love knot is, and then putting it onto a weaving was really fun and interesting to do. So.
Well, I think we have time for just one more question. I'm just kind of looking through to see if there's anything that hasn't been answered yet, or if anyone has.
I'm so glad we got to show the quilt. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the kilt. The
The
quilt.
kilt.
All right. So here's one last question, and thank you all so much for submitting these. So Barbara, was that brown wool that you just showed roving, or roving you had pulled apart?
It's roving. Yeah, it's roving that I pulled apart because the original roving is about that thick, you know. And so I just pull it apart and left to where I can fine tune it as I spin, you know. And a long time ago, you used to spin 2 or 3 times to get it as fine as possible. Now I just go from the roving to the final spin. And I think my favorite. I never knew that there were names of sheeps, you know, different breeds and stuff. I think my favorite is probably Cordale is one. The people from Sister Sheep, you know, we have a couple of favorite sheep from there. I forget their name. Joshua and what is the name?
I think his name is Jason the sheep. We've
Jason.
it was a really dark brown dark gray sheep. And
Yeah.
we have every year that we buy the same fleece from the same sheep. Now it's very light. It's a very light gray. So the sheep will actually lighten up as it grows up. And Sister Sheep is a very small company here in Denver. In fact, 2 of them are my students, and they have their own flock of sheep that wear little coats so that they're not dirty. And they're really cute little sheeps. And so then they put a call out to help have people help with the shearing part. And you know, we try to help small outfits out that way.
Mm-hmm. And then we find roving everywhere. Like here in Tucson, I go to Grandma's Spinning Wheel, and they have some really nice rovings that I buy from them. And they buy from the local community, and then they make their own roving, and it's really nice that, you know, that's available. I know that the Fiber Factory in Phoenix also has roving that sometimes when I need a different color or something, I'll go up there and find those. But Lynn goes to a lot of like Taos festivals, Estes Park Festival, and a few other wolf festivals that she goes to, and she'll find different colors and breeds and stuff, and she'll buy those, and then I'll try the spinning to see if it works for us or not, you know. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So
Did you see the Fiber Factory in Mesa? I think they're closed down now, sadly.
Oh really? Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, well, Grandma's Spinning Wheel is still going. You know, they still have roving, and they have really nice collection. Lynn and I did a specialty weaving with 100% hemp, and we found 100% hemp at Grandma's Spinning Wheel, and we were able to make a couple pieces for who was it, Lynn?
Navajo Nation.
Navajo Nation. And I did one, and then Lynn did one the same size, and all made out of hemp, because I think the NAPI is trying to get into the hemp business, you know, so they're trying to see what kind of products that they can do. And but it was really interesting to do, and it had a lot of fibers coming off of it, so we had to wear masks, and we had to have an air cleaner going all the time to pick up the fibers and stuff. And that was probably the only complaint I had, was the fibers flying off the thing. Yeah, and wearing a big mask.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up again. Thank you so much. You can see Barbara and Lynda and all the other amazing textiles in the exhibition all at once. It is open now. Come down any day. If you're looking for their textile specifically, if you enter in on the ground floor of the gallery, you'll want to go in and to the right, and you'll see them right there. They're just beautiful and exquisite. And also, again, please do take that survey as soon as you close out of the webinar. We do really appreciate those answers. We've really been able to take what you guys submit and apply that to these programs, and they are for you. So we want to make sure that we're meeting what you would want to see in these. And so thank you so much. And Palma, I don't know if you had any other closing words, but I'm just going to say thank you.
I don't. Thank you all. Thank you both
Okay.
for.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.